Let's call her Alexis. She's 30, a former interior designer from Boston, the kind of woman who once dreamed of creating beautiful spaces, but had slowly shrunk her ambitions to fit her husband's expectations. Alexis had been married to Gabriel for 10 years, a respected architect with a charming smile, and a controlling streak she had learned to ignore. They'd built a picture-perfect life, a sleek brownstone, a packed social calendar, and a marriage that looked flawless on the outside. But inside, Alexis was suffocating. Gabriel managed their finances, discouraged her friendships, and dismissed her career as a hobby. "We don't need the money," he'd say, hiding her design portfolios. "And I need you, focused on our life." She'd laugh it off. But each time, a piece of her faded. In the summer of 2024, Gabriel invited her on his annual guys trip to Italy, a reunion with his college buddies. Alexis didn't want to go, but Gabriel insisted. "It'll be fun," he said. It wasn't. They were in San Gimignano, a small Tuscan town with medieval towers and cobblestone streets, when everything fell apart. At lunch, Gabriel drank too much, egged on by his friends. When Alexis suggested they head back to their hotel, his friend Pete smirked. "She's always controlling you, man," he said, ordering another round. Gabriel's temper flared. They stepped outside the cafe, and the argument turned ugly. Years of resentment spilling out. "You're so smart, always telling me what to do." Gabriel sneered, his words slurred. "Your purse has your passport. Right, then you'll figure it out." He climbed into their rental car with his friends, laughing. "Let's see how she gets back," he said, slamming the door. The taillights disappeared down the narrow street, leaving Alexis frozen, her mouth still open mid-sentence. She stood there, the evening air cooling around her, as locals at sidewalk tables stared curiously. "He's coming back," she whispered to herself, trying to ignore the knot in her stomach. But minutes stretched into an hour, the sky darkening over San Gimignano. She checked her phone. 27 calls to Gabriel, all sent to voicemail. Texts delivered, but unread. She tried his friends. Pete, Marco, everyone in that car. All blocked. A shudder ran through her as she realized this wasn't a drunken impulse. It was a calculated humiliation. Night fell, and reality sank in. The charming town that had seemed so picturesque by day now felt threatening. Alexis counted her cash. 80 euros. About $87. Not enough for a flight home. Barely enough for a night's lodging. Her credit cards were in Gabriel's wallet. He'd offered to carry them earlier, saying her purse was too full. She found a cheap pension above a bakery, a dingy room with a narrow bed and a sink in the corner. The elderly woman who showed her in spoke no English, but patted her arm sympathetically. Alexis sat on the bed, staring at her phone. "He blocked me," she whispered, disbelief sinking in. Sleep came in broken fragments, interrupted by panic and futile checks of her phone. By morning, she'd convinced herself Gabriel would return, apologetic but ready to blame her for overreacting to his joke. She'd be angry, but relieved enough to go back to their life in Boston. But he didn't come. On the second day, Alexis rationed her money, buying only a panini for lunch while searching the town for any sign of Gabriel's tour group. By evening, she realized they'd moved on to Florence without her. On the third day, a kind cafe owner gave her free espresso and directions to the local police station. The officer there seemed unsurprised, as if abandoned tourists were common. But his limited English and her non-existent Italian left her with nothing but a filed report. That afternoon, she stood before a cramped pawn shop, staring at her wedding ring, a 2-carat diamond Gabriel had upgraded on their 5th anniversary. She twisted it off, her hands trembling, and sold it for far less than it's worth, but enough to fund her next step. The pawnbroker suggested calling family, but Alexis couldn't face it. Her mother's "I told you so" about Gabriel's temper. Her friend's pity. She remembered a moment from years ago when Gabriel hid her design portfolios, laughing. "Why complicate things?" he'd said, sitting in a grimy bus station, staring at destinations like Rome and Athens. She saw it for what it was, another fence in the pen he'd built around her. "Where you go?" the ticket agent asked. A kind-eyed older woman. "Greece." Alexis answered, the decision crystallizing. "The furthest coastal village you can get me to." 14 hours later, Alexis stumbled off a bus in Kalamata, a Greek village known for its olive groves. The smell of salt air and olive trees greeted her as she took in the whitewashed buildings. Her phone was dead, her stomach hollow, her body stiff from the journey. Exhaustion blurred her vision as she wandered toward the town center, cycling between rage at Gabrielle, fear of her future, and a strange flicker of liberation. She had enough euros for maybe 2 nights in a cheap room. After that, she had no plan, no friends, no words beyond please and thank you. But as the sunset painted the Aegean waters gold and pink, a calmness settled over her. Gabriel had meant to teach her a lesson about dependence. Instead, he'd set her free. The Greek sun beat down as Alexis wandered further from the village. Her feet blistered in impractical sandals. Her water bottle was empty, and dehydration made the world tilt. She collapsed in an olive grove, the silver-green trees shimmering around her. Darkness edged her vision as a strange calm washed over her. Maybe this was fitting. Abandoned in one foreign country, only to collapse in another. Then a voice cut through the haze. Fosmo. Kira. A woman's weathered hands turned her over. An elderly face with kind eyes came into focus. Elena, who spoke rapidly in Greek, offering a canteen. The water revived Alexis enough to sit up. Elena introduced herself, then helped Alexis to her feet, guiding her to a stone farmhouse nestled among the olive trees. The farmhouse kitchen smelled of herbs and simmering soup. Elena settled Alexis at a worn wooden table, calling out to her husband, Nikos, a sun-darkened man with a silver mustache. They offered her soup, water, and a spare room with a handmade quilt. Too exhausted to protest, Alexis collapsed into sleep. Morning brought fresh bread, strong coffee, and clean clothes. A simple cotton dress that had belonged to their daughter, Sophia, who lived in Australia. Over the next 3 days, Alexis tried to leave, but Elena resisted gently. One day, Elena showed her a photo of Sophia and her child, her eyes filling with tears. Nossi, she said, pointing far away. Alexis understood. Elena saw her as a surrogate for her absent daughter. Her heart ached for Elena's loss, and she stayed. Each day brought new routines. Elena taught her to gather eggs, hang laundry, and weed the vegetable garden. Nikos showed her how to tend olive trees. The work was physical, nothing like her curated life in Boston, but satisfying in ways she'd forgotten. Her body protested at first. Calluses formed, muscles ached. But with each day, the pain lessened, and her strength grew. At night, sitting on the porch while Elena knitted and Nikos smoked his pipe, Alexis found moments of peace. The betrayal still cut deep. But here, surrounded by ancient olive trees, it felt less like the end of her story and more like a new chapter. 2 weeks in, Elena asked, "Home, you won't go home." The question hit hard. Home meant Boston, the brownstone, the designer furniture, but also Gabriel's control. His dismissal of her dreams. Tears spilled as Alexis told Elena about the betrayal. The years of surrendering pieces of herself to keep peace. Elena's weathered hand covered hers, pointing to the farm, then to Alexis. The message was clear. She had a place here. Work, Alexis said, mimicking Nikos tending the trees. I stay, I work. Elena's smile bloomed. The next morning, Alexis began learning olive farming. Elena showed her how to rake olives onto nets. Her first attempts clumsy, but improving daily. Nikos taught her to sort olives by quality. Perfect ones for premium oil, blemished for second grade, damaged for soap. You learn fast, he said one evening. His highest compliment. In Elena's kitchen, Alexis learned to cook with generations of knowledge. No measuring cups, just instinct. Her first loaves of bread were misshapen. But Elena encouraged her. All learning is waste, she said, accepting imperfection in a way Gabriel never had. The simplicity of their meals. Vegetables from the garden, eggs from the chickens, cheese from local goats, revealed how processed her old diet had been. Her body changed, shedding unnecessary weight, gaining lean muscle, her complexion glowing from olive oil soap and honest sweat. After 3 months, Elena and Nikos took Alexis to the village market, positioning her at their stall to sell olive oil, soap, and preserved olives. Her broken Greek and customers' limited English led to laughter. But sales accumulated. As the market closed, Elena handed her an envelope of euros. Your part, she said. Fair work, fair pay. Alexis stared at the modest sum. Enough for a single meal at the restaurants she and Gabriel had frequented. But this money was hers, earned through her labor, with no strings attached. That night, she placed the envelope under her pillow, touching it to confirm its reality. In their marriage, Gabriel had controlled their finances, leaving her with monitored credit cards. This was her first step toward independence. The next week, at a taverna, in the village square, Elena and Nikos made an offer. "We old now," Elena said. "No children here, Sofia. Not coming back." Nikos nodded. "We think retire soon. Olive trees need young hands." They offered to teach her everything, then leave the business to her. "You learn fast. Work hard." Elena said. The proposition stunned Alexis. They barely knew her, yet they were offering a future she hadn't dared imagine. Over the next 6 months, Alexis became their apprentice. Nikos taught her how soil affected olive flavors, how to spot disease, when to harvest. Elena showed her their business records, handwritten ledgers and basic spreadsheets. Alexis updated their systems, creating digital records to track sales. She improved their marketing, adding labels with flavor profiles and a brochure about their traditional methods. Her Greek improved, and she forged connections. The pharmacist, the baker's wife, the taverna owner Stavis, who featured their oil on his tables, wore the spread, and 2 other restaurants ordered their oil. Alexis attended village events, a baptism, name day celebrations, a summer festival, weaving herself into the community. A villager, Yana, became a friend, her sharp wit a comfort. "You never speak of America," Yana said one day. "The husband who left you in Italy. You never say his name." "Gabriel," Alexis said, the name foreign on her tongue. "And he never searched for you," Yana asked. Alexis hadn't checked. She'd abandoned her American email and social accounts, unwilling to face what might be waiting. "Perhaps time to look," Yana said. "Not for him, for you." To close the door. That evening, Alexis powered up her old phone, logging into her email. Hundreds of messages waited. Friends concerned inquiries. A job offer from her design mentor for a remote consulting position. Still open. Then she saw it. An email from Gabriel, sent hours earlier. "I know where you are." The subject read, "It's taken months and a private investigator, but I tracked you to that backwater in Greece. This has gone on long enough. I'm coming to bring you home. My flight lands in Athens on Thursday. Be ready." Panic and anger collided in her chest. How dare he? After abandoning her, after months of silence, he expected to collect her like lost luggage. Elena slid an envelope across the table. A partnership agreement, making Alexis a 1/3 owner of the business. "You choose what happens Thursday," Elena said. "You have home here, business here, friends here." That man, he no longer decides. The truth settled over Alexis like a mantle of certainty. She prepared. Not to leave, but to stand her ground. She drafted divorce papers with the village lawyer, accepted the remote design job, and wrote to friends, explaining her absence. Thursday arrived with a perfect Greek summer sky. Alexis was testing olive oil samples with Nikos when a rental car engine broke the quiet. Gabriel stood beside a sleek sedan, his designer sunglasses and tailored chinos out of place against the ancient olive trees. He didn't notice her at first, giving her seconds to steady herself. "Gabriel," she called, her voice calm. He turned, shock crossing his face as he took in her suntan skin, work boots, and unstyled hair. "My God, Alexis, what happened to you?" he said, his disapproving tone once so crushing. Now it washed over her like a wave against rock. "Life happened," she replied. "What are you doing here?" He removed his sunglasses, his charm sliding into place. "I've come to take you home. This has gone on long enough. This isn't about making a point," she said, stopping outside his reach. "This is about making a life." Elena and Nikos stood nearby, silent guardians. Gabriel's smile faltered. "Are these the people you've been staying with? Have they been holding you here?" "They've been teaching me," Alexis Katin, "about olive farming, community, kindness without conditions. I'm part owner now. I have a business here." Disbelief crossed his face. Then condescension. "A business. Alexis, be serious. You're a designer, not a farmer. This is some eat, pray, love phase. I admit I shouldn't have left you in Italy." It was a stupid, drunken mistake. I've apologized. It's time to come home. You've apologized, she echoed. When? In what universe does tracking me down and demanding I return count as an apology? Why did you even look for me? Gabriel, she asked. Why now? He shifted uncomfortably. Your parents have been calling. Friends asking questions at events. Clients wondering why you're not at the house. It looks bad for your image. She finished. Our reputation. He corrected sharply. Our life together. The one we built over 10 years. The one you built, she countered. Where I became an accessory to your success. Did you even notice how unhappy I was before Italy? Did you care? His expression darkened. We had a good life, a beautiful home, financial security, respect. What more could you want? Purpose, connection, agency over my own choices, she said, gesturing to the farmhouse. I found all three here, in a place you dismiss as backward. This isn't you, he insisted, desperation in his voice. The Alexis I know wouldn't choose manual labor over comfort. She smiled. You're right. The Alexis you knew wouldn't have. But that woman died in Italy when her husband abandoned her as a joke. Elena handed her the partnership agreement. I have legal ties here now, Alexis said, holding it toward Gabriel. A business. Responsibilities to people who value me for my contributions. Not my appearance. His face flushed with anger. She pulled an envelope from her pocket. Divorce papers. Already filed. I'm not throwing away anything, she said, placing it in his hand. I'm choosing something better, something real. You left me, Gabriel. You drove away laughing. You just never expected I'd find my way without you. You'll regret this, he said, the threat hollow. When the novelty wears off, you'll remember what you gave up. Maybe, she conceded. But I'd rather risk regret from choices I made than live with the certainty of regret from choices made for me. Nikos stepped forward, placing a hand on her shoulder, and spoke in Greek. What did he say? Gabriel asked, his voice smaller. He said, the road back to Athens is dangerous after dark. Alexis translated, you should leave now. Gabriel looked between them, finally registering this wasn't a negotiation. Without another word, he returned to his car, the divorce papers in hand. As the vehicle disappeared down the dirt road, Elena slipped her hand into Alexis's. Together, they turned toward the house. Her house now. 6 months later, Alexis was a fixture in Kalamata. She'd expanded the olive business, supplying 3 more restaurants, and started remote design consulting, blending her old skills with her new life. She attended village festivals, laughed with Yana over coffee, and found peace in the rhythm of farm life. Gabriel had meant to break her, assuming she'd come crawling back. Instead, he'd given her the greatest gift, freedom to become the woman she was always meant to be. Alexis's story shows what happens when betrayal becomes a catalyst for rebirth. Abandoned in Italy, she found a new life in Greece, proving her strength to the husband who underestimated her. Sometimes, the cruelest actions yield the greatest gifts. What do you think? Should Alexis have given Gabriel a chance to explain? Or was walking away the right choice? Have you ever turned a betrayal into a new beginning? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. These stories connect us, showing us we're not alone in our struggles. If you enjoyed this day, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you want more stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out. I'm here every day with new tales from Reddit and beyond, so stick around. See you next time.